Yo, 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 yo. Yo. Hey guys. Point slope form. So this is a different formula for graphing lines. So point slope form is y minus y1 is equal to the slope times x minus x1. Now, some of you might already figure out what certain things are here, but here's what they are. M is still your slope in this formula. The y1 and the x1 are from a point on the line that are an ordered pair. So the y1 and the x1 are from a point that's on the line in an ordered pair. So the reason why we call it a point slope formula is you're using one point from the line and you're using the slope. That's why it's called point slope form. The y here and the x here, they just stay as y and x. Kind of like how we have y equals mx plus b. That is this y and this x. How they stay as y and x. They also represent another point on the line. So this is point slope formula. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn how do we actually use point slope formula, how can it help us. This actually might be easier for some of you to find the y-intercept from than using slope-intercept form like we did in 2.1. So you are going to be given problems very similar to what we've already worked on. A line with the slope of 1/2 passes through the point 3, -2. What form can you use to write the equation of a line, and what is the equation in that form? So because I'm given a point and I am given a slope, I can use point slope formula. And what I do is I plug in that point and the slope into the formula. So that means my slope is 1/2. So I'm going to plug in 1/2 for slope. And that's still x minus, and this is equal to y minus, whatever the y1 is. So my actual point that I'm given is 3, -2. So I'm going to take this ordered pair of 3, -2, and I'm going to plug that in for my x1 and my y1. Well, so my y1 is -2, my x1 is +3. This double negative makes a positive, because this was minus -2. So that's why I'm left with y plus 2 equals 1/2 times x minus 3. This is the final equation in point slope formula. A couple things I can recognize. One, I know my slope right away when I look at this, because the slope is always the number that is in front of the parentheses. The second thing I should be able to take away is that my point is +3, -2, because it's always the opposite of the sign. And the reason why it's always the opposite of the sign is because this is subtraction. Okay? Which is kind of confusing, I understand that. Now, the reason why we use point slope formula is from here, I could actually graph from here if I wanted to with that point and that slope, or I could also still change it from here to slope-intercept form. So let's look at how would I graph from point slope formula. So the way we graph from point slope is, well, there's really two different ways. So one way is I can identify the point based on these two values. So because I know it's the opposite of what's inside the parentheses, my x value is -1, my y value is +3. Because if I plugged in +3, that would be y minus 3. If I plugged in -1, x minus -1 would equal +1. So remember, it's the opposites. So there's my point.
Evan Chu, please go to the choir room.
So what I can do is I can actually plot that point, -1, +3. And then I can actually use my slope from here. Now I know before in slope-intercept form, we always started from our y-intercept. Right now I don't know what my y-intercept is, but I still know what a point on the line is. And my slope works from all the points on the line, because that's the constant rate of change that's happening on that line. So I have a point, now I can use my slope from here. My slope is -2/3. So that means I can go down 2 over 1, 2, 3. down 2 over 1, 2, 3. So there are my points. There's my line. Now I can try to connect this with a straight line. I always have a hard time on this thing, but that's supposed to be somewhat of a straight line. And I'm done. That's one way to do it. Another way, let's say we have a hard time with point slope formula. You can always convert to slope intercept form. So what I mean by that is I can actually solve for y and simplify the right hand side, and it's going to be in slope intercept form. So what that means is, let's say I do distributive property here, so that's negative 2/3 x minus 2/3, because negative 2/3 I did distributive property. And this is y minus 3. And now I would just have to add 3 to both sides, and I'm going to be in slope intercept form. Because this is going to be y equals negative 2/3 x, and then this is 9/3, so that's going to give me negative 7/3. And I'm done. This is now in slope intercept form, and I could graph them here. Sometimes the problem with this, though, and the reason why we would use point slope form instead of slope intercept form, is whenever we have a y-intercept that's not a whole number, it is kind of tough to make the graph, because it's hard to also count your slope from not a perfect point. So this would not be very friendly to graph, where this one's a lot easier to graph. So going into slope intercept form is not always the best choice, so it is important to understand how to graph from point slope form. However, when in doubt, you can always convert. Okay, so try this one on your own. Try to graph it and see how you do. Okay, so the first point that I have is negative 5, negative 1. There's my ordered pair. And then my slope is negative 3/5. So because it's negative 5, negative 1, I'm going to make sure I have that ability on my coordinate plane here. So I'm just going to kind of shift it over just a little bit. Ugh, that's ugly. Oh my goodness, that's the worst vertical line ever. No, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. Let's just do, there we go. We'll do horizontal, like that. See, now it's straight. All right, so I'm gonna start at negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1. There's my first point. Remember, it's the opposites of what's inside of what the signs are. Now I use my slope from here. Down 3. 1, 2, 3 over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that actually gives me the y-intercept at 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. I'm already done. And now I just got to connect those points. Oh, wrong one. You saw my straight lines. They are bad. So therefore, we're just going to do one of these. And I'm done. Nothing else to it. So it's really just picking out a different point from the y-intercept and using your slope from there. So a line passes through these 2 points. What is the equation of the line in point slope form? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to find your slope and then use any point and write it in point slope form. Pause it, try it, see how you do. So my slope, let's see, the y's, it goes up 1. Looks like it goes down 14. So my slope should be 1 over negative 14. There's my slope. So the whole slope is just negative 1/14. So that's my m. Negative 1/14. I drew the equal sign over the negative sign. Silly ridiculous. There we go. Okay, so now I can just get to pick a point. It does not matter what point. I'll use this point because it's positive, so it makes it a little bit easier. Minus 3 equals negative 1/14 x minus 7. If you chose this point, that means it would have been y minus 4 equals negative 1/14 x plus 7. So those are the 2 possible answers of writing an equation in point slope form. Okay, so finally, here's what I want you guys to do. I'm actually extending the independent practice. So I want you to do this problem as independent practice and see how you do. And then I want you to do this problem that's in the independent practice and see how you do. And that's it. So for under your things to remember for point slope formula, the ordered pair goes xy. Let's try that again. xy, but that the signs are opposite in the formula. That word says formula. Okay, guys, try both those problems for infinite practice. Good luck. Thanks for watching. Critias out.